Hello, friends, and welcome back to Malicious Compliance Stories. Drive-thrus are supposed to be simple. You pull up, order food, move along. But at this Arizona Mendy's, a group of baked customers couldn't even handle "please hold." But before we begin, best way to support our channel is to leave comments, like, and subscribe with the turned-on bell so you don't miss the new video every single day. Here we go. Karen called the city on me. I've lived in my old house for over 20 years. It's nothing fancy, built more than 120 years ago, patched up a dozen times, and holding together with love, stubbornness, and a little duct tape. My backyard looks like a yard, not a magazine spread. There's a burn barrel I use to get rid of brush, a shed I threw together with my own hands, and a garden that grows more weeds than vegetables some years. And you know what? I like it that way. I don't have an HOA, thank God. If I did, my place would have been bulldozed ages ago. But last year, a developer bought the street parallel to mine, tore down the old houses, and crammed in a bunch of modern multifamily units. Those people came with their smug HOA, their manicured lawns, and their community standards. Unfortunately, their backyards face mine, and suddenly I've got snobby pricks peering over my fence and whispering about property values. One Saturday, I was in the backyard stacking wood when I overheard one of them, let's call her Karen, talking to another neighbor. She made no attempt to lower her voice. "Karen, it's such an eyesore. I can't believe the city even lets them live like that. Look at that shed. Look at those barrels. How are we supposed to enjoy our investment with that behind us?" I leaned over the fence and said, "The shed's legal, the barrel's legal, and I've been here longer than your cookie-cutter boxes have existed, so maybe don't like it, lump it." She huffed and stormed off. That was the beginning of the war. A week later, the city inspector showed up. Someone, I wonder who, reported that I was burning without a permit. Joke's on them, I actually checked fire code when I put in the barrel. The inspector confirmed everything was fine and left. Then came a notice about an unpermitted structure, my shed. Again, I built it to code, didn't need a permit, complaint dismissed. Over and over, Karen and her HOA lackeys tried to sick the city on me. Every time I had paperwork ready, and every time they got shut down. But it was exhausting. I couldn't sit on my porch without feeling their eyes on me like I was a zoo exhibit. One evening, I caught Karen and her husband standing at the edge of their yard, staring down at mine. He pointed at my patchy lawn and said something about how it dragged down the whole neighborhood. She chimed in about how some people just don't care about appearances. I finally snapped. Me. "Appearances don't keep a roof over your head. Just so you know, this house has stood here since before your HOA was even a twinkle in a developer's eye. If anyone should be worried about property values, it's me. Your ugly condos are ruining the view." They looked like I'd slapped them. But I wasn't done. I started documenting every little thing they did. I filmed their dog pooping in my yard when it slipped through the fence. I reported them when they parked their SUV illegally on the corner, blocking visibility. I even snapped photos of them hauling in building materials without permits. I became their HOA's worst nightmare, the outsider who knew the rules better than they did. The city inspector started showing up at their doors instead of mine. One day I heard shouting across the fence. Karen was waving a notice in her husband's face, screeching. "Karen, do you know how embarrassing this is? We're supposed to be setting an example." Husband, "Maybe if you stop picking fights with people, we wouldn't have inspectors breathing down our necks." That night, I poured myself a drink, sat out by my burn barrel, and enjoyed the peace and quiet. These days, the complaints have stopped. Karen and her HOA friends keep their heads down when they see me. Sometimes I catch them sneering still, but they don't say anything out loud. They know better. And me, I paved part of my front yard and parked my old truck right where they can see it from their balconies. A nice little reminder that some of us don't bend to HOAs no matter how hard they push. There's nothing sweeter than watching someone weaponize bureaucracy only for it to boomerang back because you actually did your homework. She thought she was unleashing the cavalry. Instead, she just kept wasting inspectors' time while you looked like the model citizen. And our second story. He drove like a maniac with his business plastered on his car, so I let the world know. A few months ago, I was driving home after a long holiday weekend here in Australia. You know the kind of trip. The whole country seems to have gone away at the same time, and then everyone heads back at once. Highways are packed, speeds drop to a crawl, and every driver's patience is tested to its absolute limit. I'd been on the road for hours already, creeping forward in bumper-to-bumper traffic. The heat, the fatigue, and the stop-start rhythm were wearing me down. But what really made it worse was the handful of reckless drivers weaving through the congestion like they were in some sort of video game. One car in particular stood out. It was impossible not to notice him, tailgating, swerving, cutting people off, and lunging into the tiniest gaps. He was inches from bumpers 1 second, jerking into the next lane the next, and forcing everyone else to slam on their brakes. I personally had to stomp on mine twice because of him, and I wasn't the only one. You could see waves of brake lights ripple behind him every time he made one of his aggressive moves. It wasn't just dangerous, it was infuriating. Normally, I try to let things like this go. People drive badly, people are impatient, and in heavy traffic, you just want to get home safely. But watching this guy act like he owned the road, endangering everyone around him, was different. My stress level doubled just keeping him in sight. Every time he tailgated another car, I found myself muttering under my breath. Every time he swerved across lanes, I caught myself gripping the wheel tighter. And then I noticed something else. This wasn't just some anonymous idiot. His car was plastered with business decals, the company name, phone number, website, the whole deal. He wasn't just driving badly, he was doing it while essentially advertising his business to thousands of people stuck on the highway with him. By the time I finally got home, I was still fuming. Out of curiosity, I typed the business name into Google. Sure enough, it popped right up. Without much hesitation, I clicked leave a review and gave it a single star. My comment was short, something along the lines of, if this is how you represent your business on the road, I wouldn't trust you with anything professional. It was petty, I'll admit, but in that moment, it felt like justice. Then I moved on with my life. Yesterday, out of nowhere, I got an email at my work address. It was from the business owner, the same one whose driving had made my blood pressure spike on that holiday weekend. He'd tracked me down, connected my review to my real name, and somehow found out where I worked. The email wasn't threatening exactly, but it was unnerving. He wanted to know why I'd left a 1-star review. No mention of the driving, no acknowledgement of anything beyond my rating, just a pointed, why did you do this? I sat staring at my screen for a good few minutes, half annoyed, half unsettled. How the hell had he gone from a simple Google review to digging into my personal identity? And why go to that effort unless the review had really gotten under his skin? I haven't responded yet, and I'm torn. On the one hand, I feel like I should call him directly and explain, look, I don't know anything about your products. My 1-star has nothing to do with your business itself. It's about how you conducted yourself on the road while representing your company. You put people in danger, including me. And if you're going to advertise your business on your car, then your driving is part of your brand. It's the reasonable, straightforward thing to do. Maybe he'd even take it to heart, though I doubt it. On the other hand, there's a part of me that thinks the best revenge has already been achieved. He doesn't know what I'll say or whether I'll reply at all. He's stuck wondering if I'll escalate, if I'll tell more people, if I'll update the review with even more detail. His paranoia is gnawing at him, and every time he checks his inbox and sees no reply, it digs deeper. That's a punishment all its own. I keep going back and forth, but I think I know where I'm leaning. Sometimes the best revenge isn't loud or direct. It isn't shouting at someone in traffic or getting the last word in an email. It's silence. It's letting them stew in their own thoughts, replaying the incident over and over, wondering when or if you'll ever respond. After all, he chose to plaster his business details all over his car. He chose to drive like a maniac while doing so, and now he's living with the consequences. I didn't have to raise my voice. I didn't have to slam on my brakes in anger. All I had to do was leave one little star. And judging by that email, it stung him more than I could have ever imagined. And our last story. Old man, you're going to be in the trash can right now. I've worked in the parts department of a dealership in Colorado for 12 years. My day's simple. Catalog numbers, oils, boxes stacked so straight even the pickiest tech in service can't find a reason to fuss. I rarely peek into the showroom, different stage, different actors, gleaming hoods and 30-tooth smiles. When Karen joined us, it felt like she'd been born for that stage. A 3-page resume, top sales on the West Coast, white sneakers that never see dust, and a smile that looked like it had already counted your bonus into her own wallet. In her first week, she managed to start a fight between two salespeople, pin her own leasing, contract mistake on a trainee, and, what infuriated me the most, get our cleaner, Miss Rosa, fired. Rosa is 63. She shows up at 6 a.m. and makes the floor shine without any premium gloss spray. Karen said Rosa's look and manner didn't fit the brand image. We in service just ground our teeth, but our GM, Joe Clark, is a soft touch. Give her a chance to prove herself. We did. And then came the day when everything fell into place. It was 11:15. I was carrying a box of brake pads for a Silverado and happened to walk past reception. An older man stepped up to the counter, short, wiry, in a worn Carhartt denim jacket, a baseball cap with a farm co-op logo, and work boots with more dust on them than some of our customers have chrome. He waited politely for Karen to tear herself away from her phone and quietly asked if he could speak with the general manager. Karen didn't even lift her eyes. She tossed out that the GM wasn't in today. The man was gently surprised, said they'd spoken on the phone that morning and had arranged to meet. That's when Karen looked up. The look that makes shoulders slump and chills a room. Her eyes flicked over the jacket, the boots. She gave a crooked half smile and in that honey-cold tone of hers said that even if the GM were in the office, it wouldn't be for him. Our vehicles aren't about your budget, sir. Don't hold up the line. You're spoiling the atmosphere. The man didn't take offense. He said he didn't need a vehicle. He needed to speak with management. Karen lifted her chin a fraction, smoothed a lock of hair, and delivered the line that made my jaw clench. It's possible the manager here is me, and it's possible I'm about to ask security to escort you to the dumpster behind the store if you don't leave on your own. He gave the slightest nod, turned calmly, and walked out to the parking lot under the neon service sign. The showroom got so quiet you could hear the AC pushing air through the vents. I stood there with that box like I'd been nailed to the floor. 2 minutes later, a gray 5 Series BMW shot onto the lot. Joe Clark, who usually moves like there's a block of ice in his gut, jumped out, strode to the gate, and hugged that same man. A brief talk, hands on shoulders, and they walked in together. Karen straightened instinctively, like a camera lens had just trained on her. 5 minutes later, she was called into the GM's office. The door was left half open, maybe by accident, maybe for effect. I don't eavesdrop, but this time there was no need. In the general manager's chair sat that same older man as if he'd always belonged there. Joe stood beside him, half a step back. The posture people here take next to an owner. Karen, meet Mr. Johnson, Joe said evenly. Karen went so pale not even the best foundation in an ad could have saved her. She started babbling that she wanted to apologize, that she hadn't known who he was. Mr. Johnson raised his hand, and even the air conditioner seemed to quiet down. First, I'll speak, and please don't interrupt, he said softly. But the words landed like pebbles. To begin with, your personality's a rare find. Sharks like you don't waste time on sentiment. I'm sure your talent could take this dealership to a new level. Really? Karen gulped air, and for a moment I saw that same hunger in her eyes, the kind she'd change habits for. Second, he continued without changing his tone, it's a shame you weren't promoted sooner. So today I'm promoting you. Your status will become entirely new. That's incredible, Mr. Johnson. Really? With a surprised, scared face. The old man, no, you're fired. Pack your things and get off my private property before my security dumps you in the trash bin. Karen's mouth fell open, but no sound came out. She turned and left. 10 minutes later, her badge wouldn't open the turnstile. I watched her go and, for the first time in 2 months, felt like the showroom had air in it again. That evening, I stepped out to the lot. By an old Ford F-250 stood Mr. Johnson talking with Joe. I walked up and, a bit awkwardly, thanked him for setting things right. He smiled with one corner of his mouth and said, "Thank the people who do simple things well. Without them, no dealership's worth its glass." He started his pickup and drove off the way people do who don't need escorts or fanfare. Old man level of justice. God, I wish there were more people like that. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.